The alarm bells rang through the Galactic Council chamber. Every species represented in the Grand Hall looked up in confusion. The sound meant only one thing. A major threat to galactic peace had been detected. Council head Vressa raised her forearms for silence. Her insect-like body clicked as she moved to the center platform. "Members of the Council," she announced, her translator turning her clicks into understandable speech. "We have received emergency signals from the Sol system." A murmur went through the crowd. Ambassador Tae-sung, the human representative, sat up straighter in his seat. His face remained calm, but his eyes narrowed slightly. "What kind of signals?" asked one of the council members, a blob-like creature from the water worlds. General Crick stepped forward. The military advisor's scales gleamed under the chamber lights. "The Vrakan Empire has sent a war fleet to Earth. They entered human space 20 minutes ago." The chamber erupted. Not in fear for humanity, but in shock at the Vrakan's stupidity. "Are they insane?" shouted one ambassador. "Do they not know what humans are?" cried another. "Someone must stop them before it's too late." Tae-sung stood slowly. His simple movement caught everyone's attention. The tall human walked to the speaking platform with measured steps. He wore the standard Earth Defense Force uniform, dark blue with silver trim. Nothing fancy, nothing threatening. Yet every alien in the room watched him carefully. "Ambassador Tae-sung," Vressa said, her voice carrying concern. "We offer Earth any assistance you require. We can send fleet support within. That won't be necessary." Tae-sung interrupted politely. He smiled, the expression not quite reaching his eyes. "But I do request permission to return home immediately." "I know that came for mate. You don't want our help?" General Crix asked, confused. "No, General. We don't need it." Tae-sung's smile grew slightly. "But the Vrakan might." A nervous ripple went through the assembled aliens. They all remembered humanity's admission to the Council 5 years ago. The tests every species had to pass to join. The trials designed to evaluate physical capability, mental resilience, and cultural compatibility. Vressa certainly remembered. She had been present when the first human candidates arrived for testing. The physical trials had been standard. A simple obstacle course on a planet with moderate gravity, thin atmosphere, and temperature swings between freezing and boiling. Most species sent their best athletes. 3 out of 10 typically completed it. The humans had sent average soldiers. All 10 finished. They didn't even seem tired. The mental trials were worse. Isolation chambers, stress tests, impossible problems designed to break a candidate's will. Most species lost half their candidates to psychological collapse. The humans had talked to themselves, made jokes, and asked when the real testing would begin. Then came the survival test. Candidates were dropped on a hostile moon and had to survive for 10 days with minimal equipment. The moon had predators, poisonous plants, and weather that killed 3 alien candidates within the first day. Ambassador Yuna had been part of that test. Vressa watched the monitors as the young human woman not only survived, but thrived. She hunted the predators. She tested plants carefully and created a chart of what was edible. When a storm came, she built a shelter so good that 2 other species candidates begged to share it. When the test ended, Yuna had gained weight. She emerged healthier than when she arrived. The Council had approved Earth's admission immediately. They also added a note to humanity's file. Death World species. Approach with caution and respect. Now, as Tae-sung prepared to leave, Vressa felt she had to warn him. "Ambassador, the Vrakan fleet is massive. 300 warships. Their weapons technology is advanced. I appreciate your concern, Council Head." Tae-sung bowed slightly. "I'll make sure to inform Admiral Ji-woo of the numbers." "Will you evacuate your cities?" asked another council member. "Civilian casualties could be enormous." Tae-sung paused at that. His expression became cold. He turned to leave, then stopped. Oh. One question. Does the Vrakan Empire know about Earth's classification? General Crix checked his data pad. His face went pale, an impressive feat for someone with scales. No, Ambassador. It appears they based their invasion plans on old surveys. Before first contact, they think you're a primitive species barely capable of spaceflight. The chamber went silent. Tae-sung laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. They don't know. By the ancestors, they actually don't know what we are. Perhaps we should inform them? Suggested Vressa. Before this goes too far? No, Tae-sung said firmly. They declared war. They attacked our system. They'll learn the hard way. Like everyone else who has underestimated Earth. Ambassador Yuna, who had been sitting quietly in the humans section, stood up. She was smaller than Tae-sung, but something about her made the nearby aliens shift away nervously. She had been the one to demonstrate human combat capabilities during the admission trials. Shall I return as well? She asked, Tae-sung in their language. Yes. Admiral Jiwoo will want your report on Vrakan tactics. Tae-sung switched back to the common tongue. Council Head, we thank you for the warning. We'll handle this matter internally. And if you need assistance? Vressa pressed. We won't. But I'll send updates. For the record. Tae-sung smiled again. This time, showing teeth. Several aliens flinched. They had learned that humans showing teeth could mean friendliness or threat. Context mattered. As the two humans left the chamber, the council dissolved into chaos. Should we intervene? Asked one member. For which side? General Crix muttered. Vressa called for order. The humans have declined assistance. However, I suggest we move observation ships to the Sol system border. Not to interfere, but to record what happens. Why? Asked the Waterworlder. Because, Vressa said slowly, the Vrakan Empire has been aggressive for centuries. They've conquered 20 species. They believe themselves unstoppable. Today, they learn differently. And the galaxy needs to see it. You think the humans will win? Vressa's translator couldn't quite capture the emotion in her voice. Win? My friend, I think the humans will do what they always do. When threatened, they'll survive, adapt, and destroy anything trying to kill them. The Vrakan picked the wrong species to attack. She looked at the data streaming in from Sol system. The Vrakan fleet was massive, yes. 300 ships, all armed with weapons that could crack planets, but Vressa had seen what humans could do. She had watched Yuna create fire from rocks, build weapons from bones, and outthink every challenge thrown at her. And Yuna was just a soldier. Not even a special one by human standards. General Crix, Vressa ordered. Send the observation ships, and may the cosmic forces have mercy on the Vrakan, because the humans certainly won't. The general saluted and hurried to comply. In the gallery, alien journalists were already broadcasting the news across the galaxy. Within hours, every civilized world knew. The Vrakan Empire had attacked Earth. The reactions varied by species, but one theme was common: shock that the Vrakan would be so foolish. And in the depths of space, aboard a transport racing toward Earth, Tae-sung sat in quiet meditation. He felt no fear for his homeworld, only pity for the Vrakan who didn't know they had just kicked a sleeping dragon. The war would be short, he knew, but it would be remembered forever. The Vrakan warfleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Commander Thros sat on his command throne, looking at the primitive planet on his screens with satisfaction. This would be an easy conquest. All ships report ready, War Leader, his second-in-command reported. Excellent. Open a channel to the planet. Let's offer them a chance to surrender before we obliterate their cities. The channel opened. Thros cleared his throat and began his standard conquest speech. Primitive humans of Earth, I am War Leader Thros of the Vrakan Empire. Your world is now property of the Empire. Surrender immediately or face destruction. You have one of your hours to respond. He cut the transmission and leaned back, satisfied. They always surrendered once they saw the fleet size. In Seoul, deep below the city, Admiral Jiwoo listened to the message. The command center was quiet as staff waited for her response. The admiral was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She had served in the Earth Defense Force for 40 years. She laughed. "Ma'am?" asked her aide, confused. "They think we're primitive. They gave us an hour." Jiwoo shook her head. "Did they not scan our defense satellites? Our orbital platforms? The missile bases on the moon? Apparently not, Admiral. They seem to have based their intelligence on surveys from before we achieved spaceflight. Fools." Jiwoo stood and walked to the main display. "How many ships?" 300, ma'am. All capital class. "And what do we have in range?" 75 ships, Admiral. "The rest of the fleet can be here in 6 hours. We won't need them." Jiwoo smiled coldly. "Ignore their message. Don't even respond. Just bring all defense systems online and scramble all fighter wings." "All of them, ma'am?" "Every single one. And activate Protocol Red. I want Captain Minho and his experimental squadron in space within 15 minutes. Across Earth, military bases erupted into action. Pilots ran to their fighters. Ship crews brought weapons online. Orbital platforms deployed their missile arrays. In the underground hangar beneath Tokyo, Captain Minho climbed into his fighter. The new design had been tested only 3 times. It used technology traded from friendly aliens, then heavily modified by human engineers who looked at the safety recommendations and laughed. "Dragon leader to Dragon Squadron," Minho spoke into his comm. "Status check. Dragon 2. Ready. Dragon 3. Ready." All 12 pilots reported in. Minho sealed his cockpit and felt the familiar pressure as his flight suit tightened. The suit would keep him alive at accelerations that would turn most aliens into paste. "Tower, this is Dragon Leader. Requesting launch clearance. Dragon Leader, you are clear for launch." "Give them hell, Captain." The catapult flung Minho's fighter up the launch tube and into the sky. Within seconds, he broke through the atmosphere and into space. His squadron formed up around him. Dragon Squadron, set intercept course for the enemy fleet. Full acceleration. The fighters screamed forward at 15 Gs. Inside his fighter, Minho grunted against the pressure but remained conscious. His suit injected him with a mix of stimulants and oxygen enhancers. Aliens needed special chambers and weeks of training to handle such forces. Humans just needed a good suit and strong will. Aboard the Vraken flagship, sensors detected the approaching fighters. "War leader, we have incoming craft. 12 small ships, approaching at." "That can't be right." "What?" Thros demanded. "The acceleration would kill any pilot, sir. Our sensors must be malfunctioning. Recalibrate and check again." The sensor officer worked frantically. "Sir." "Same reading. Those ships are pulling 15 standard gravities. Continuously. Maka. Maka. Maka." Thros felt the first whisper of doubt. What kind of species could survive such acceleration? Weapons. Target those ships. Destroy them. Energy beams lanced out from the Vraken fleet. Minho saw them coming. Dragon Squadron, evasive pattern Delta. Use the debris field. The human fighters scattered. They dove into the asteroid belt at speeds no sane pilot would attempt. The Vraken weapons missed, striking asteroids instead. Dragon 2. Target the cruiser on the left flank. 3 and 4. Take the destroyer. Everyone else, with me. The fighters released their missiles. But these weren't standard weapons. Human engineers had looked at alien missile technology and asked, what if we removed all the safety limiters? What if we filled them with more explosives? What if we made them faster and harder to shoot down? The result was missiles that violated several galactic conventions on weapons safety. The Vraken tried to intercept. Their point defense destroyed 3 missiles. The other, 47, hit home. Explosions blossomed across 5 Vraken ships. Their shields held, but barely. "Impossible," Thros shouted. "How can such small ships carry weapons with that yield?" "Sir, the ships are coming around for another pass. All ships, target those fighters. I want them destroyed." But the human pilots weren't done being creative. Minho led his squadron into a radiation belt that surrounded one of Jupiter's moons. The Vraken ships followed, then quickly withdrew as their crews started getting sick. The humans kept fighting, protected by their shielded cockpits and suits designed to handle radiation that would kill most species. "Dragon Leader, this is Fleet Command. You have backup incoming." 60 more human fighters arrived, followed by 10 destroyers. The Vraken fleet turned to face this new threat. That's when things got strange. The human destroyers didn't fire weapons. Instead, they positioned themselves and launched what sensors identified as trash, debris, garbage. Thros watched in confusion as chunks of metal and rock flew toward his fleet at incredible speeds. "What are they doing?" he asked. Then the first piece of debris hit a Vraken cruiser. At near light speed, even a bolt could punch through shields and armor. The chunk of metal tore through the ship's hull, destroying 3 decks. "They're using kinetic weapons," the sensor officer screamed. "Just throwing things at us." Evasive maneuvers. All ships scatter. But the human ships seemed to predict every move. They had calculated trajectories perfectly, using mathematics and physics like weapons. 20 Vraken ships took critical damage in the first minute. The debris storm continued, each piece carefully aimed. Admiral Jiwoo watched the battle from her command center. "Report: 30 enemy ships destroyed or disabled, Admiral. 0 casualties on our side." Captain Minho reports, "They're still testing defenses." "Good. Have him pull back. Bring in the main fleet. Let's show them what real ships can do." On the Vraken flagship, Thros stared at the tactical display in horror. In less than an hour, he had lost 30 ships, not to superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but to tactics he had never imagined. These humans fought dirty. They used radiation as cover. They threw garbage as weapons. They pulled accelerations that should kill them. "Sir, receiving a transmission from the planet." "Put it on screen." Admiral Jiwoo's face appeared. She looked calm, almost bored. "War Leader Thros, you demanded our surrender. I decline. Instead, I offer you a choice. Leave our system now, or we will destroy every ship you have. You have 1 minute to decide," Thros snarled. "You think your primitive tricks frighten me? We are the Vraken Empire. We have conquered 20 species. Congratulations. You're about to learn why 21 is beyond your reach." Jiwoo's expression didn't change. 40 seconds. "We will crush you." 20 seconds. Thros cut the transmission. "All ships, battle formation. We attack the planet directly." The Vraken fleet moved toward Earth. That's when the orbital defense platforms opened fire. Thousands of missiles launched simultaneously. The humans had built weapon platforms that most species would consider orbital fortresses. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. The Vraken shields started failing. "War Leader, we've lost 60 ships. We need to retreat." "No. We can't let these primitives defeat us. All ships, continue the attack." In his fighter, Minho watched the Vraken fleet struggle against the orbital defenses. "Dragon Squadron. The Admiral says we can go weapons-free. Let's show them what happens when we stop being polite." The human fighters activated their experimental weapons. Lasers that used power cells no sane engineer would approve. Plasma cannons that ran so hot they needed to be flushed with coolant after every shot. Railguns that fired at velocities that stressed the fighter's frame. The Vraken had never seen such reckless weapon design. But they worked devastatingly well. By the time the first hour ended, the Vraken had lost 90 ships, and Earth's main defense fleet hadn't even arrived yet. War Leader Thros made a desperate decision. If he couldn't win in space, he would take the fight to the ground. The Vraken had always been successful with ground invasions. Their soldiers were trained, disciplined, and well-armed. Deploy ground forces to their major cities. We'll crush their military on the planet's surface. Thousands of landing pods streaked toward Earth. They targeted Seoul, New York, Mumbai, Lagos, and Sao Paulo. The humans tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Most of the pods made it through. In Seoul, the pods crashed into streets and parks. Vraken soldiers emerged, tall and armored. They stood nearly 7 feet high, with 4 arms and advanced weapons. They looked terrifying. Then, they tried to walk. The gravity hit them like a hammer. Earth had stronger gravity than their homeworld. What felt normal to humans was crushing weight to the Vraken. Their powered armor helped, but it wasn't enough. Squad leaders, report status, commanded Ground Commander Vrax. Sir, the gravity is stronger than expected. Troops are struggling to move quickly. Push through it. We are Vraken warriors. Take defensive positions and await the enemy response. In a Seoul apartment building, Nari heard the crashes outside. She was a civilian, a former track athlete turned office worker. She lived on the 15th floor with her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Kim. Nari, Mrs. Kim called from next door. Nari looked out the window and saw the Vraken soldiers setting up weapons in the street. She grabbed her phone and saw the emergency alert. Alien invasion in progress. Stay inside. Military response incoming. But staying inside meant being trapped if the building was attacked, and Mrs. Kim couldn't run. Nari made a decision. She grabbed her emergency bag, the one she kept for earthquakes, and ran next door. Mrs. Kim was trying to pack. No time, Nari said. We need to go now. I can't move fast, child. I'll help you. Come on. Nari put Mrs. Kim's arm over her shoulder, and they headed for the stairwell. 15 floors down, with an elderly woman to help. Most people would think it impossible to do quickly. Nari had run marathons. She had trained her whole life. She was strong. They reached the ground floor in 4 minutes. Nari pushed open the emergency exit and looked out, carefully. The street was full of Vraken soldiers, but they were looking the other way, toward the military barricade forming 3 blocks down. We run, Nari whispered. Stay quiet. Stay close. They ran. Or rather, Nari ran, while supporting Mrs. Kim's weight. The old woman tried her best to keep up. A Vraken soldier spotted them. He raised his weapon and shouted something in his language. Nari didn't slow down. She cut between buildings, using routes she knew from her morning runs. The soldier tried to follow, but his armor was heavy in Earth's gravity. He fell behind. Nari reached the military line and soldiers pulled them both to safety. Ma'am, you shouldn't be running around out there, a young soldier said. Had to get Mrs. Kim to safety, Nari panted, barely winded despite running 3 blocks while supporting another person's weight. The soldier stared. You carried her that far? She's not that heavy, Nari said, confused by his surprise. Behind the alien lines, the Vraken who had chased them reported to Commander Vrax. Sir, I pursued 2 targets. Both were females. One elderly. They outran me even in Earth's higher gravity. Vrax felt a chill. A civilian had outrun his soldier. What would their military be capable of? He didn't have to wait long to find out. Lieutenant J and his Special Forces team had been in Seoul on training exercises when the invasion began. They were underground, in the subway maintenance tunnels, when the Vraken landed. Sir, we have alien troops all over the city, his second reported. Good, J said calmly. He was a small man, lean and quiet. Then we don't have to find them. They came to us. Check weapons. Standard urban warfare loadout. We're going hunting. The team moved through the tunnels silently. They came up behind Vraken positions and simply disappeared soldiers. No shots fired, no alarms raised. One moment a Vrakan soldier was on guard. The next he was gone. The Vrakan started to panic. Their sensors couldn't track the humans through the city's infrastructure. Their thermal imaging was useless because human cities were full of heat signatures. Their motion detectors triggered on everything from rats to air conditioners. Commander Vrax, we're losing soldiers. We don't know where the enemy is. They have to be somewhere. Use scanning protocols. But Lieutenant J and his team were everywhere and nowhere. They used sewers, maintenance shafts, and building interiors. They knew every hiding spot, every back alley, every useful route. In New York, Sergeant Doyun had a different approach. He didn't hide from the Vrakan. He hunted them openly. His infantry unit set up positions on rooftops and in windows. When the Vrakan tried to advance down the streets, human soldiers shot at them from above. When the aliens retreated into buildings, the humans rigged explosives. But the real lesson came when Doyun checked the weather forecast and smiled. "Storm coming in," he told his troops. "Get your rain gear. This is going to be fun." The Vrakan weren't designed for Earth weather. Their homeworld had gentle rains and mild temperatures. Earth had thunderstorms. Doyun led his unit into Central Park and set up obvious positions. The Vrakan spotted them and moved to attack. That's when the storm hit. Rain poured down in sheets. Thunder boomed. Lightning cracked across the sky. The Vrakan soldiers' electronics started failing. Their suits weren't properly sealed against heavy rain. Their communication systems, the controde, designed for dry climates, shorted out. And the lightning strikes? Those played havoc with their powered armor. The human soldiers wore simple rain ponchos over their gear. They kept fighting, completely unaffected. "This is insane!" A Vrakan soldier screamed as rain poured through his helmet seals. "How can they fight in this?" "Khan." Doyun heard the translation through a captured comm unit. He laughed and shot 3 more Vrakan soldiers, who were struggling to even move in the mud. "This is just Tuesday for us," he shouted back, knowing they could hear him. In Mumbai, the Vrakan encountered a different problem. The heat. Earth's tropical zones were hotter than anywhere on the Vrakan homeworld. The aliens' armor cooling systems couldn't keep up. Soldiers collapsed from heat exhaustion while human troops, adapted to the climate, barely sweated. In Lagos, the Vrakan learned about human creativity. The military there didn't have the best equipment, but they made up for it with ingenuity. They used car alarms to create false signals. They threw paint on Vrakan soldiers to mark them for snipers. They even released thousands of insects from a research facility. Insects that the Vrakan found intolerable, but humans could easily ignore. Back in Seoul, Commander Vrax listened to reports from all the landing zones. Every single one was going badly. "How many casualties?" he asked his aide. 60%, sir." "And climbing." 60%? In less than a day? The humans are. "They're everywhere, sir. They know every part of their cities. They use the terrain against us. And they don't seem to tire. We've had soldiers fighting the same human unit for 6 hours. Our troops are exhausted. The humans keep coming." Vrax pulled up footage from one of the body cameras. He watched a human civilian, that woman Nari, outrun his soldier. Then he watched Lieutenant J's team take out a Vrakan squad without firing a shot, using only knives and hand-to-hand combat. Then footage of Sergeant Doyun's unit fighting in a storm that had Vrakan troops barely functional. "What kind of species are these humans?" Vrax whispered. His aide brought up a file, something they had downloaded from the Galactic Council database after establishing a connection. "Sir, this might explain it. Earth's classification." Vrax read the file. His 4 hands started shaking. "Death world. Extreme gravity. Violent weather. Deadly wildlife. Recommended approach level. Maximum caution." He scrolled down to the section on human capabilities. "Can survive in radiation levels lethal to most species. Can fight in temperature extremes, from freezing to boiling. Natural persistence hunters, capable of tracking prey for days without rest." highly aggressive when threatened. Note: humans consider violence a normal problem-solving method. Vrax closed the file and looked at the casualty reports again. 60% losses in less than 24 hours of ground combat. Sir, War Leader Thros is demanding a status update on the ground invasion. Vrax thought about lying. Then he decided Thros needed to know the truth. Tell the War Leader that the ground invasion has failed. The humans are not defending their cities. They're hunting us in them. We can't move properly in their gravity. We can't fight in their weather. And they seem to view this as barely an inconvenience. He looked at the screens showing human soldiers advancing on his positions. They moved like predators, confident and deadly. Tell him, Vrax continued slowly, that we didn't invade their world. We walked into their territory, and now they're showing us why that was a mistake. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the invasion of Earth. The broadcasts came from observation ships positioned at the edge of the Sol system, sending live feeds to every civilized world. Observer Dren sat in his recording studio on his homeworld, watching the feeds with growing amazement. Dren was a journalist, famous for his war coverage. He had seen hundreds of battles, but this was different. Viewers, he spoke into his camera. What we are witnessing is unprecedented. The Vrakan Empire, one of the galaxy's most feared military powers, is being systematically destroyed by a species they classified as primitive. He pulled up footage from the space battle. Look at this. Human fighters operating at accelerations that would liquefy most species. They're not using special anti-gravity systems. They're just enduring the force through physical resilience and chemical stimulants. The camera switched to ground combat footage. And here, in the city called Sol, we see human soldiers fighting in conditions the Vrakan find nearly impossible. Notice the Vrakan struggling with the gravity and weather while humans move naturally. Dren's assistant, a younger journalist, asked the question everyone wanted answered. How are humans so capable? What makes them different? Dren pulled up a chart. Humans evolved on what we classify as a Class 12 death world. For comparison, most species evolve on Class 3 or 4 worlds. Class 12 means Earth is actively hostile to life. Can you explain what that means? The assistant asked. Earth has stronger gravity than 80% of habitable worlds. Its weather includes storms with wind speeds that can destroy buildings. Its temperature swings from cold enough to freeze methane to hot enough to boil water. And that's before we discuss the wildlife. Dren showed pictures of Earth animals. These are Earth predators. This one, called a tiger, can kill prey twice its size. This one, called a crocodile, has existed virtually unchanged for millions of years because it's already a perfect killing machine. And humans? Humans hunted both of these to near extinction. The assistant looked shocked. They hunted their own apex predators? They didn't just hunt them. They domesticated some of them. That animal there, it's called a dog. It's descended from wolves, pack hunters that killed humans' ancestors. Humans befriended them and turned them into companions and work animals. Back at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Tae-sung sat with other ambassadors in the observation gallery. They were watching the same feeds, but with a different perspective. Your species is terrifying, said Ambassador Kelm, a peaceful herbivore species. How do you live with yourselves? AG. With Masaji, Tae-sung smiled gently. We don't think of ourselves as terrifying. We're just adaptable. Earth made us this way. But your soldiers enjoy the fighting, another ambassador said, pointing at footage of Sergeant Doyun laughing while shooting Vrakan troops in the rain. Some do, yes. Humans have a range of responses to combat. Some find it exhilarating. Some hate it but do it anyway out of duty. But all of us understand that sometimes violence is necessary. Ambassador Yuna joined the conversation. She had been watching the tactical displays. The Vraken made 3 critical mistakes. First, they assumed we were primitive because our technology seemed basic. They didn't realize we prefer simple, reliable equipment. Second, asked Kelm, they invaded our home. Humans are territorial. We don't fight as well in unfamiliar territory, but on our own world, we know every advantage, every trick. Yuna pulled up a map of Seoul showing the tunnel systems. Lieutenant Jay's team is using infrastructure built over centuries. The Vraken have no idea how complex our cities are. And the third mistake? Tae-sung answered this one. They assumed we'd be afraid. Fear is useful. But humans evolved to override it when necessary. Our ancestors hunted animals that could kill them. They crossed oceans not knowing what was on the other side. They went to space knowing they might die. Fear doesn't stop us. It just makes us more careful. On the Vraken command ship, War Leader Thros was learning this lesson the hard way. He had retreated from Earth orbit after losing half his fleet in the first 3 days. Now his ships were scattered across the outer solar system, trying to regroup. But the humans hadn't stopped. They chased. Commander Yoonji led the human counteroffensive. Her fleet consisted of 20 heavy cruisers and 50 destroyers. Not a massive force by galactic standards, but what they lacked in numbers, they made up for in sheer determination. Commander, we've located a Vraken supply depot on one of Jupiter's moons, her sensor officer reported. How many ships guarding it? 15 cruisers and their supply vessels. We attack in 2 hours. I want Marines ready for boarding operations. The Vraken depot commander felt confident in his position. The moon's thin atmosphere and low gravity made it easy to defend. Then the human Marines launched. They flew across space in small assault pods, targeting the Vraken ships directly. Sir, they're attempting to board us, his aide shouted. In hard vacuum? Impossible. Their suits can't sustain them long enough, but the human suits could. Designed for extended operations in hostile environments, they kept Marines alive and functional for hours in space. The Vraken suits were meant for short emergency evacuations only. The Marines reached the Vraken ships and burned through the hulls. They flooded into the ships, fighting in zero gravity and vacuum with practiced ease. The Vraken crew, wearing light internal suits, couldn't match them. Within 30 minutes, the humans had captured 3 Vraken cruisers. The rest fled. Thros watched the reports with disbelief. They boarded ships in vacuum? Without support craft? Yes, War Leader. And they're towing the captured ships back to Earth. How long were their soldiers in hard vacuum? 2 hours for some of them, sir. Thros felt sick. 2 hours in hard vacuum should kill anyone. But humans barely seemed inconvenienced. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Sora was studying captured Vraken equipment in a Seoul research facility. She was a xenobiologist, and what she was discovering both fascinated and horrified her. The Vraken biology is incredibly fragile, she told her team. Their immune systems can't handle Earth pathogens. I've identified 15 common human bacteria that would be lethal to them. How lethal? Asked her assistant. The common cold would kill them in 3 days, influenza in 2. And that's just respiratory infections. Skin bacteria, digestive bacteria, everything we carry naturally would be deadly. She pulled up a comparison chart. Humans evolved in constant warfare with disease. Our immune systems are military grade compared to most species. The Vraken evolved on a world with very few pathogens. So we could wipe them out with biological weapons? Dr. Sora nodded slowly. We could. Easily. But that would be. She paused, choosing words carefully. That would be genocide. We need to present this information to the government. Let them decide how to use it. The information reached Admiral Ji Woo within an hour. She read the report 3 times, then called a meeting with her senior staff. We can end this war with disease, she said bluntly. Dr. Sora can weaponize common human pathogens. We could deploy them on every Vraken ship and soldier. Within a week, the invasion would be over. But? Asked her aide, hearing the hesitation in her voice. But that would be a war crime. The Vraken invaded us, yes. But using biological weapons designed to exploit their evolved weaknesses? That crosses a line. 1717. By the Jess team. What do you suggest, Admiral? Jiwoo smiled coldly. We present them with the information. We show them exactly what we could do. And then we offer terms of surrender that don't include killing them all. She composed a message to War Leader Thros. Short, direct, and terrifying. War Leader Thros. We have analyzed your biology. We can deploy 15 different pathogens that would kill every Vraken in this system within 1 week. We choose not to do this. Instead, we offer you a chance to surrender. You have 24 hours to respond. If you decline, we will not use biological weapons. We will simply destroy every ship. You have the conventional way. The choice is yours. Thros received the message. He called his science officer. Is this possible? Avery. Fonalo. I'm analyzing the data they sent, sir. Yes, it's all accurate. Everything they listed would kill us. They could wipe out our entire invasion force with modified versions of their common cold. And they're choosing not to? Apparently, sir. They say it would be a war crime. Thros sat in silence for a long moment. The humans could end this war immediately, but chose not to, because of moral concerns. What kind of species had such power and such restraint? What are the casualty numbers now? He asked quietly. 80%, sir. We've lost 80% of our invasion force. In space. On the ground. Everywhere. The humans are not just winning. They're dominating. Thros looked at the strategic display. His proud fleet, 300 ships strong just a week ago, was down to 60 functional vessels. His ground forces were being systematically eliminated. And now he learned the humans had a weapon they refused to use out of moral principle. Get me a channel to Admiral Jiwoo, he said finally. It's time to discuss terms. The surrender negotiations took place aboard a neutral station at the edge of the Sol system. The Galactic Council had provided the location, wanting to ensure proper documentation of what would be a historic moment. War Leader Thros arrived with what remained of his command staff. They looked broken. 3 weeks of fighting Earth had destroyed not just their fleet, but their confidence. These were warriors who had conquered 20 species, now defeated by one they had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Jiwoo arrived with a small delegation. She walked with confidence, flanked by Captain Minho and Commander Unji. They wore their dress uniforms, but no weapons. They didn't need them. Council head Vressa officiated the meeting. She looked at both sides with her compound eyes, clicking softly. We are here to discuss terms of surrender for the Vraken invasion of Earth. War Leader Thros. You have requested these negotiations? Thros stood, his forearms hanging limp. Yes, Council, head. I formally offer the unconditional surrender of all Vraken forces in the Sol system. Admiral Jiwoo. Do you accept this surrender? I do, Council Head. Pending agreement on specific terms. Vressa gestured for them to sit at the negotiating table. Then, let us begin. Admiral Jiwoo placed a datapad on the table. These are Earth's requirements. First, immediate withdrawal of all Vraken forces from the Sol system. Second, complete disarmament of your invasion fleet. Your ships will be allowed to leave, but without weapons. Third, reparations for damage caused to Earth cities and orbital infrastructure. Thros read through the list, expecting worse. These terms are reasonable. What else? A formal treaty recognizing Earth's sovereignty and territorial rights. Your empire will agree to a demilitarized zone extending 50 light-years from our system. And finally, a public apology to be broadcast across the galaxy. That's all. Thros couldn't believe it. You could demand much more. You could demand territory, resources, even our homeworld's location. Jiwoo smiled slightly. We don't want your territory. We have no interest in conquest. We just want to be left alone. But we invaded you. We killed your people. Why show mercy? Captain Minho spoke up. Because we're better than you. Simple as that. The bluntness made Thros flinch. But he couldn't argue. The humans had demonstrated superiority in every way that mattered. And they were choosing to be merciful. I accept all terms, Thros said quietly. On behalf of the Vrakan Empire. Good, Jiwoo said. Now, let me be very clear about what happens if you, or any other species, tries this again. She activated a holographic display showing the battle statistics. You lost 80% of your invasion force. That was us, being defensive. If we had attacked your territory, the losses would have been total. We have longer reach, better tactics, and soldiers who can fight in conditions that would kill your troops. She switched the display to show Dr. Sora's biological warfare research. We also have this. Weapons we chose not to use. But if pushed far enough, we will use every tool available. Do you understand? Thros nodded, unable to speak. Excellent. Then we're done here. Your ships can begin leaving the system immediately. The reparations schedule and formal treaty will be delivered within 3 days. As the Vrakan delegation left, Commander Unji leaned toward Jiwoo. That went easier than expected. They're broken, Jiwoo said quietly. We didn't just beat them militarily. We beat them psychologically. They'll never forget this. At the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Yuna prepared to present Earth's formal demands. The Council had assembled in full session, every member species present. Honorable Council members, Yuna began. Earth has successfully defended itself against Vrakan aggression. We now seek formal recognition of our territorial rights and request the Council enforce these terms. She displayed the treaty. The Vrakan Empire has agreed to complete disarmament of their invasion force, reparations for damages, and recognition of our sovereignty. We ask the Council to witness and enforce these terms. Council Head Vressa spoke. The Council acknowledges Earth's victory and agrees to enforce these terms. However, we must address the larger implications. Earth has demonstrated military capability far beyond what most members realized. What are your intentions toward other species? Yuna smiled warmly. Our intentions are simple. Peaceful cooperation with those who respect us, and overwhelming retaliation against those who don't. We seek trade, cultural exchange, and friendship. We do not seek conquest or expansion. And if threatened again, asked General Crix, then we respond the same way we always have. We protect our home and our people with every tool and tactic available. We don't start fights, General, but we definitely finish them. The Council voted unanimously to approve Earth's terms. Several members privately admitted relief that humanity preferred peace. The alternative was too frightening to consider. Back on Earth, President Hajun prepared to address the galaxy. The broadcast would reach every civilized world, carried by the Council's communication network. Hajun was an older man, gray-haired and calm. He had led Earth through the crisis with steady hands, trusting his military to handle the fighting while he managed the diplomatic response. People of the galaxy, he began, I am President Hajun of Earth. 3 weeks ago, the Vrakan Empire invaded our world. They believed us to be primitive and weak. They were wrong. He showed footage of the battles, space combat, ground fighting, the desperate struggle in the streets of Seoul and other cities. We defended our home using everything we had. Our technology, our tactics, and most importantly, our determination to survive. We won not because we are cruel or violent by nature, but because Earth made us strong. Our world demands strength, and we have it. The broadcast shifted to show Earth itself. Beautiful blue oceans, green forests, snow-capped mountains. This is our home. It is a difficult world, but it is ours. We love it, and we will protect it against any threat. But we are not conquerors. We seek friendship with all peaceful species. We offer trade, knowledge, and cooperation. His expression became stern. However, let this be a warning to any who might consider attacking Earth in the future. We have shown mercy to the Vraken. We could have annihilated them completely. We chose not to because we value life, even the lives of our enemies. But do not mistake our mercy for weakness. If threatened again, we will respond with overwhelming force. We will use every advantage our world has given us. We will fight in environments that kill you. We will endure conditions you cannot survive. And we will not stop until the threat is eliminated. He paused, letting that sink in. But that is the path of conflict. We prefer the path of peace. Come to us in friendship, and you will find us generous and loyal. Respect our sovereignty, and we will respect yours. Trade with us fairly, and we will be honest partners. The choice is yours, Galaxy. We can be your friends or your worst nightmare. We hope you choose wisely. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, reactions varied wildly. Some species, like Vressa's people, felt vindicated. They had always known humans were formidable. Others, aggressive species that had eyed Earth as a potential target, quietly revised their expansion plans. And some, the peaceful traders and explorers, saw opportunity. If humans were as generous in peace as they were fierce in war, they could be valuable allies. On the observation ship, Observer Dren did his final report. In conclusion, the Battle of Sol will be remembered as a turning point. The Vraken Empire, once considered unstoppable, was defeated in 3 weeks by a single planet, and more importantly, that planet showed mercy when it could have shown cruelty. He looked directly into the camera. Humans are not monsters. They are survivors. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. And they thrived anyway. They carry that strength with them into the stars. Fear them if you must, but also respect them. And, if you're wise, befriend them. Because humanity has just announced its presence to the galaxy, and the galaxy will never be the same. In Sol, life was returning to normal. The Vraken had left, their damaged ships limping away under human escort. Repairs were underway on damaged buildings. The dead were being mourned. Nari visited the memorial for those who had died in the invasion. She placed flowers for the neighbors she had lost. Mrs. Kim stood beside her, leaning on her cane. "You saved my life, child," the old woman said. "I just did what anyone would do," Nari replied. "No, you did what a human would do. You ran toward danger to save someone weaker. That's who we are." Lieutenant Jay and his team received medals for their actions. Jay accepted his quietly, uncomfortable with the attention. Sergeant Doyun's unit had a party, celebrating their survival and victory. They drank, told stories, and remembered the friends they'd lost. Captain Minho returned to test flights, already working on improvements to the fighter design. "We can make them faster," he told his engineers. "Maybe push to 20 Gs sustained. That will kill the pilots," an engineer protested. "Not if we improve the suits," Minho said with a grin. Admiral Jiwoo stood in her office, looking at the stars through the window. Ambassador Tae-sung had sent her a message from the council. "Well done. It's not over," she said to her aide. "This was just the first test. Other species will challenge us. Some out of aggression. Some just to see if we're really as tough as the rumors say. And we'll be ready, Admiral? Always. That's what we do. We prepare, we adapt, and we survive. It's the human way. We say, I'm no." In the council chambers, Vressa met privately with Tae-sung. "Your species frightens many of us," she admitted. "But I believe you will be good for the galaxy." "Why is that, council head?" "Because you understand both strength and mercy. You could have destroyed the Vraken, but you didn't. That shows wisdom. And the galaxy needs wisdom More than ever. Taesung smiled. We're just doing our best, Council Head. Earth taught us to be strong, but our humanity teaches us to be kind. We try to balance both. Taesung smiled. We try to balance both. Then I hope you succeed. Because the galaxy is watching, and many will judge all humans by your actions. We won't let you down. As Taesung left the chambers, he thought about home. About Earth. With its storms and predators and crushing gravity. About the world that had made humanity into what they were. He didn't hate Earth for being harsh. He loved it for making them strong. And now that strength would be tested again and again, as humanity took its place among the stars. But Taesung wasn't worried. Humans had survived Earth. They could survive anything. They always did.